story begins with a group of men attending a funeral. As two men step outside the hall, they start discussing the deceased, commenting on how the guy passed away in such a vain manner. While one agrees, his attention shifts as he spots Wang Dam walking out of the hall with a box. Noticing him, the man mentions Wang Dam's name and asks where he is going. Dam casually responds that he is just stepping out for a bit and requests the man to inform Uncle Ilwa that he is going out to get some fresh air. As Dam walks away, the two men exchange glances, acknowledging that he must be going through a lot after his father's death. However, one of them notices the box in Dam's hand and senses something suspicious. Just then, Uncle Ilwa rushes out of the hall, yelling at the two men, demanding to know where Dam has gone. One of them hesitantly explains that he just went out to get some air, but Uncle Ilwa's anger only intensifies. Before he can say more, a motorcycle engine roars to life, drawing everyone's attention. Turning towards the sound, Uncle Ilwa's face darkens as he spots Dam on a bike. Furious, he calls Dam a lunatic and orders him to get off immediately. Glancing back, Dam remains unfazed and tells Uncle Ilwa to take care of himself and live well without him. As he accelerates, Uncle Ilwa's anger boils over, but his eyes land on the box in Dam's possession. He shouts in outrage, demanding to know how Dam dared to steal the condolence money box. However, Dam speeds away, casually telling him to think of it as an early inheritance. Uncle Ilwa, seething with rage, watches Dam disappear from sight before turning to the two men and barking at them to gather everyone and fetch the car keys for him. They quickly comply, with one of them rushing inside the hall, causing a commotion as he shouts about an emergency. When the guests demand an explanation, he reveals that Wang Dam has fled with the condolence money. Meanwhile, Dam has covered a considerable distance, making it nearly impossible for Uncle Ilwa and his men to catch up. There is an old saying that humans adapt to their environment, shaped by its absolute influence. But as Dam rides on, the lid of the box loosens, sending wads of cash flying into the air. Onlookers watch in shock, but Dam, lost in thought, remains oblivious. He ponders whether a person should continue living in filth simply because they were born into it. Hours later, he finally stops his bike and reaches for the box, only to freeze in horror. The lid had popped open on the way, and a large portion of the money was gone. In a panic, he quickly counts what remains, sighing in relief when he finds that he still has around 500,000 won. Although he lost most of it, he reassures himself that it is enough for a fresh start. That night, Dam arrives at a gashawan, a small, single-room rental usually meant for students. A woman shows him the gasha room, enthusiastically claiming that it is the best deal in the area, with a low rate. She explains that aside from the shared kitchen, the room has everything he would ever need. With a proud smile, she adds that the place has a certain classic vibe to it. Dam, glancing around at the worn-out walls and ceiling, jokingly remarks that it feels more like a relic from the Korean War than anything classic. The woman bursts into laughter, playfully patting his shoulder and complimenting his sense of humor. As she wraps up, she reminds him to eat only in the kitchen, as food smells linger. Just then, Dam's eyes fall on a girl heading into her room. She briefly glances at him before hurriedly looking away and shutting the door behind her. The woman notices this and casually mentions that the floors are not separated by gender, which is why she doesn't let just anyone stay there. However, since Dam looks like a decent kid, she decides to allow him. Leading him towards his room, she tells him to follow the rules and congratulates him on securing a place. Later, Dam lies on his bed, reflecting on his so-called fresh start. Losing most of his money because of a loose box lid was not part of the plan. Sitting up, he places a hand on his face, coming to terms with the reality that after paying the rent, he is nearly broke. He recalls his earlier confidence about 500,000 won being enough and mentally scolds himself for being naive. However, he glances at his uniform and takes some comfort in the fact that at least his school uniform wasn't too expensive. The scene then shifts to a few moments earlier when Uncle Ilwa had called Dam, demanding to know his whereabouts. Dam nonchalantly replied that he was in Seoul. Uncle Ilwa erupted in anger, calling him insane for going there. Dam, unfazed, told him to lower his voice, declaring that he had no intention of returning. Uncle Ilwa, realizing Dam was serious, warned him that Seoul is not as easy as he thinks. He also scolded Dam for making such a decision without discussing it with him first. Dam admitted that he had kept it a secret because he knew Uncle Ilwa would try to stop him. Hearing this, Uncle Ilwa sighed in frustration before asking if Dam even have enough resources to survive in Seoul.
Ulica.
Dam confidently responded that he had brought money with him, specifically the condolence money, which he estimated to be around 500,000 won. At that, Uncle Ilwa exploded, his voice nearly blowing out Dam's earbuds, as he bellowed that the condolence box contained over 50 million won. Dam sheepishly explained that the lid had come open during his ride, causing most of the money to fly away. Uncle Ilwa's rage only grew, demanding if Dam even understood whose money that was. He furiously reminded Dam that countless people had contributed to that fund and that it wasn't his to steal. Dam, sensing the situation getting worse, quickly apologized and promised to pay it all back by taking on delivery jobs with his bike. However, Uncle Ilwa scoffed, unimpressed, accusing him of always running his mouth without thinking. He then mocked Dam's so-called plan, asking if he had really escaped to Seoul just to become a delivery boy. Dam, irritated, retorted that it was his life and Uncle Ilwa had no right to interfere. Uncle Ilwa, undeterred, lectured him about running off without a proper plan. Dam shot back, sarcastically asking if Uncle Ilwa himself had some grand plan in life. To his surprise, Uncle Ilwa calmly replied that he did, and he was going to open a bar and name it Bambino. Hearing the name, Dam cringed and bluntly called it lame. Ignoring him, Uncle Ilwa then changed the subject, revealing that since Dam was already in Seoul, he would enroll him in a school in Gangbuk. Dam, shocked, asked if he was serious. Uncle Ilwa confirmed it, stating that if Dam wants to build a future for himself, he needs to graduate. He then made a deal, proposing that if Dam could attend the school, graduate, and become the #1 student, Uncle Ilwa would forget about the 50 million won he had stolen. Dam, thrilled, was even more excited when Uncle Ilwa added that he would provide him with an allowance as a starting fund if he manages to remain #1 in school. Brimming with confidence, Dam declared that taking over one school would be a piece of cake. However, Uncle Ilwa merely chuckled, assuring him that he would soon find out that it wouldn't be as easy as he thought. The school Uncle Ilwa mentioned is none other than the infamous Gangbuk High School, in Seoul's Gangbuk district. It is common to hear the sounds of people getting beaten up here, earning it the notorious nickname, Pak High, named after the sound of a punch or a hit. Naturally, most students at Pak High are considered to be at rock bottom, with rough reputations and nothing to lose. However, despite its terrible state, the school is far from shutting down and actually has a surprisingly high graduation rate. Wang Dam sits on his bed, glancing at the uniform, realizing that becoming #1 in the school without any real challenge would be no fun. The next day, he reaches school, recognizing it as the perfect first obstacle in his fresh start. As he walks through the hallway toward his class, students glance at him one by one with suspicion and anger. He ignores them, but their stares remain intense. Briefly looking around, he realizes their expressions are far different from what he expected. Acknowledging the rumors, he confirms that the students of Pak High are indeed tougher than he thought. However, he figures that no matter how intimidating they seem, they are still just high schoolers, perhaps some low-level thugs if he is being generous. Reaching his classroom, he briefly checks the sign outside before stepping in. As he pushes the door open with force, frustration builds inside him. He realizes that Uncle Ilwa must have underestimated him, putting 50 million won on the line against a bunch of high schoolers. Entering the classroom, he sees this as the perfect chance to prove that he is on a completely different level. As he stands before the class, catching everyone's attention, he decides to begin with an announcement to intimidate them. However, before he can speak, the students start murmuring, wondering who he is since they have never seen him before. Ignoring their chatter, Wang Dam walks to the teacher's desk, leans on it with both hands, and calls everyone in the class a chimp. Introducing himself as Wang Dam from Taejun, he skips formalities and gets straight to the point, asking about the school's top fighter. Just as he speaks, he notices a student glaring at him. He approaches, only to realize the student is holding a pencil and studying. Before he can say anything, he glances around, shocked to see that everyone in the class is studying. Annoyed, he demands to know what they are doing. A student casually replies that they are studying calculus, calling it holy. When Wang Dam interrupts their session, the student warns him to stop disturbing the class or he will beat him up. However, before the student can finish, Wang Dam kicks him, sending him crashing into his desk. The class falls silent in shock as Wang Dam angrily questions why they are even studying. Confirming whether this is really the same Pak High known for constant fights, he sees the students getting frustrated. One of them calls him crazy while the other asks for his rank, but Wang Dam calls them the crazy ones instead, pointing out how bizarre it is to study in a place full of wild chimps. He demands that they act normal and start brawling just as they are known for. The student he initially kicked looks at him fearfully, muttering that his words are harsh. Just then, another student throws a book at his face. As the students declare that he has crossed the line and decide to take him down, Wang Dam grins, removing the book from his face. He realizes that the real Pak Hai he has heard about is finally coming out. Without hesitation, he grabs a chair and hurls it at one of the charging students, knocking him out. The others, undeterred, continue rushing toward him. One student gets close and attempts to punch him, but Wang Dam swiftly dodges and counters with a punch to the face, knocking him out as well. Another student, who was hesitating after witnessing this, finally gathers courage and charges. However, just as he throws a punch, Wang Dam dodges again and strikes him in the face, sending him to the ground. Furious, the student realizes that the new transfer student is beyond insane. As Wang Dam picks up the book thrown at him, he approaches the student and asks if it belongs to him. Before the student can respond, Wang Dam repeatedly smashes it into his face. A few moments later, he straightens up, facing the class as they call him crazy. Tossing the book aside, he laughs and challenges them, asking if anyone will fight for their fallen comrade. Glancing at the student he initially kicked, he asks if he wants to fight since he is sitting at the front. The student hesitates before quickly denying it, saying he just happened to be there. Laughing, Wang Dam mocks them, questioning whether they are truly the infamous Pak Hai students he heard about. Just then, a student speaks from behind him. He reveals that he was trying to sleep after a long study session but woke up because of the noise. Glancing at Wang Dam with irritation, the student, Hodong, asks if this is the new transfer student who caused all the chaos. As he notices 3 students on the floor, he mutters that these students managed to get knocked down by the new transfer student even though he is alone and does not seem like a big deal. Meanwhile, Wang Dam quietly starts a countdown. As Hodong continues observing him, Wang Dam counts down from 3. Before Hodong can react, Wang Dam finishes his countdown and suddenly grabs his shoulder, flips into the air, and lands a sharp kick to his face, catching him completely off guard. As Hodong falls, his hand reaches out and snatches Wang Dam's hairband, letting his hair loose. Stunned, Hodong barely manages to land on the ground before Wang Dam immediately starts beating him, leaving the class in shock. Though beaten, Hodong summons his strength and grips Wang Dam's neck, causing him to freeze in surprise. Wasting no time, Hodong picks him up and throws him toward the students. Crashing into them, Wang Dam quickly stabilizes himself. One student rushes to attack him while he is down, but Wang Dam swiftly elbows him without looking and quickly follows up by punching Hodong, who is already charging again. Hodong groans in pain but grabs Wang Dam's collar. While Wang Dam acknowledges his resilience, he coldly states that it is pointless as he has already lost. Without hesitation, he delivers a punch to Hodong's chin, nearly knocking him out. However, Hodong barely clings to Wang Dam's shoulder, whispering that he can't knock Hodong down with only that much strength. As he glances up, Wang Dam grows angrier, noticing that Hodong's grip has torn his shirt, one he had just bought yesterday. Furious, he demands if Hodong plans to replace it. But before he can react, Hodong stares at his exposed chest, noticing multiple scars. Realizing that Wang Dam's body is covered in battle wounds, Hodong begins to wonder if the transfer student is actually a gangster. Park Hodong, a feared fighter at 19, with skills and physical strength far beyond a high schooler, usually terrifies students with his intense gaze. However, now that gaze is gone. Trembling, he presses his hands together and begs Wang Dam for forgiveness, promising to fix his shirt. But Wang Dam has no interest in apologies. Without another word, he delivers a final punch, knocking Hodong unconscious. The class watches in stunned silence. As Wang Dam looks down at Hodong, he questions whether that was their so-called top dog. If so, he concludes taking him down was no challenge at all. Fighting in this school is far more boring than he imagined. While the students remain frozen in shock, he declares that, from now on, they will follow his orders, because he is the new boss of the class. Just then, the students start smiling, making Wang Dam pause mid-sentence. He wonders why they are grinning while looking at the door. As he follows their gaze, he notices a student named Kim Tae-suk entering the classroom, holding a book. Tae-suk is focused on reading as he steps inside, leaving Wang Dam confused. He turns to a nearby student and asks about the guy's identity, joking that he thought he was a native English teacher. However, The student seems surprised and asks if Wang Dam truly doesn't know who Kim Tae-suk is. As Wang Dam gets frustrated and asks the student to reveal his identity, the student replies saying that he is. Hearing this, Wang Dam frowns and demands a clear answer. The student confirms that Kim Tae-suk, the one who just walked in, is the actual top dog. Wang Dam's eyes narrow as he examines Tae-suk, realizing he is the real deal. Without hesitation, he approaches Tae-suk and greets him, asking whether he is reading in Korean or English. Before Tae-suk can respond, Wang Dam snatches the book from his hands and looks at it, confirming it's in Korean, even though it's not. However, since he doesn't understand English well, he quickly tosses the book aside. The entire class watches in shock, witnessing someone boldly snatch Kim Tae-suk's book and discard it like it's nothing. Ignoring their reactions, Wang Dam shifts his focus back to Tae-suk and directly asks if he is truly the top dog of Pak High before challenging him to a fight for that position. At that moment, Tae-suk casually places a hand inside his shirt, making Wang Dam tense up. He assumes Tae-suk might be pulling out a knife to end him right there. But to his relief, Tae-suk simply takes out a cloth to clean his glasses. As he wipes them, he glances at Wang Dam and casually calls him a lowlife who has shown up at their school again. Annoyed, Wang Dam tells him to cut the nonsense and just answer whether he wants to fight or not. Tae-suk remains silent for a moment. Taking this as hesitation, Wang Dam decides to strike first, believing that if Tae-suk doesn't answer, he might be forced to fight back. However, as he rushes in, his confidence vanishes when he suddenly realizes that Tae-suk is about to counter him. Before Wang Dam can even react, Tae-suk lands a clean punch, sending him crashing to the floor in a single hit. As Wang Dam lies there, stunned, Tae-suk calmly adjusts his glasses and welcomes him to Pak High, calling him just another thug. A few hours later, Wang Dam slowly opens his eyes. As he quickly sits up, he angrily curses, thinking Tae-suk is still in front of him. However, he soon stops, realizing he is in an unfamiliar place. He touches his chin, wondering if he really lost and got knocked out with a single punch. Just then, he hears a voice asking if he is okay. Looking towards the source, he sees a boy sitting on another bed beside him. The boy mentions that Wang Dam woke up screaming and asks again if he is alright. Ignoring the question, Wang Dam instead asks where they are. The boy explains that this is the infirmary and that Wang Dam has been unconscious for a long time. As Wang Dam glances around the room, the boy asks if he is the new transfer student before revealing that he heard about him getting beaten up by Tae-suk. He adds that since Wang Dam lost to Tae-suk, he must be in the same class. Hearing this, Wang Dam becomes furious and lunges at the boy, claiming he didn't lose, and explains that Tae-suk only caught him off guard with a sneak attack. Of course, he conveniently hides the fact that he was the one planning the surprise attack on Tae-suk. The boy panics and quickly apologizes, saying he must have misunderstood since Tae-suk isn't the type to sneak attack others. Before Wang Dam can hit him, the boy hurriedly introduces himself as Sun Saiwon, mentioning that since they are classmates, he hopes they can get along. He extends a hand for a handshake, but Wang Dam simply glares at him and ignores it. After an awkward silence, Sun Saiwon claps his hands and assures Wang Dam that he can ask him anything since he keeps up with the latest news and is always willing to help. Wang Dam decides to ask about Kim Tae-suk, confirming if he is really the top dog of the school. Hearing this, Sun Saiwon gets excited and immediately starts talking. He describes Tae-suk as the strongest in school, explaining that his physique is a mix of Korean and African genes, making him overwhelming in fights. On top of that, he is incredibly smart. He adds that Tae-suk is nicknamed Tyson in school and is the main reason the employment system still exists. Wang Dam frowns, confused, and asks what the employment system is. Sun Saiwon looks at him in shock and asks if he truly has no idea about it and wasn't that the main reason he transferred? Without waiting for an answer, Sun Saiwon begins explaining. He says Pak High has a special system where the top 7 students with the highest grades earn jobs at a manufacturing company owned by a big corporation. He explains that this is the main reason so many people transfer to the school. Wang Dam interrupts him, asking for clarification. He confirms whether highest grades means test scores and academic performance. Sun Saiwon, looking confused, nods in agreement. Wang Dam stares at him in disbelief before asking if this is really the same school where all the troublemakers gather. Seeing his reaction, Sun Saiwon sighs and explains in simpler terms. He reveals that Pak High was once a gathering place for all kinds of delinquents. To change this, the school's administration introduced the employment system, hoping it would motivate students to study. However, the students turned out to be far beyond what they had expected. While the students managed to secure their spots among the top 7, jealousy grew among them, leading to constant fights and turning Pak High back into the chaotic place it was known to be. Sun Saiwon explains that the students there were never the type to study just for a job at a big corporation. Instead, the promise of employment turned the school into a battlefield where the strong preyed on the weak. As things worsened, cheating became the norm as students started taking tests for others, switching answer sheets, and even stealing grades. The strongest student at the time went as far as manipulating everyone's scores. After those incidents, both the school and its administration gave up, allowing chaos to take over. That was when Kim Tae-suk transferred to Pak High. At first, some students tried picking on him, but he beat them all. Like a comet, Tae-suk tore through the school's strongest fighters in an instant, and no one could match his skills. Naturally, he defeated the previous leader and took his place as the new top dog, proving himself by ranking first. After claiming the top position, Tae-suk declared that the leader of Pak High would be decided based on grades. In other words, he wasn't just number 1 in fighting, he was number 1 in studying too. Surprisingly, everyone accepted this rule. They knew that refusing Tae-suk's orders would mean suffering the same fate as the previous leader. With no other choice, even the students who had given up on school started studying. Slowly, the chaotic era of Pak High began to fade. As Sun Saiwon finishes the story, he asks if Wang Dam understands the history of Pak High now. Wang Dam remains silent, acknowledging Sun Saiwon's impressive storytelling skills. Though the story sounds like something out of a light novel, he doesn't sense any lies in it. Then, as he processes everything, he realizes something. If he wants to be number 1, he has to excel in studying. At that moment, he understands why Uncle Ilwa sent him to Pak High. He turns to Sun Saiwon to confirm if becoming the leader is really just about studying. Sun Saiwon grins and nods, explaining that ranking first means becoming the leader. Hearing this, Wang Dam steps closer to him and reveals that this is a matter of 50 million won. He then asks if it's really impossible to just beat someone for it. Sun Saiwon looks confused, prompting Wang Dam to explain further as he reveals that he has never properly studied a day in his life. He then questions if everyone is studying simply because they lack the guts to fight Tae-suk, claiming that he can just beat him and take the top spot. Just then, the nurse enters the room and remarks that if the new transfer student tries that, it would definitely cause trouble. As the nurse mentions that it is all thanks to Tae-suk that the school has fewer patients, she refers to Wang Dam again as the transfer student. Hearing this, Wang Dam turns to her and asks how she knows that he is new. Meanwhile, Sun Saiwon excitedly turns toward Wang Dam and explains that their school nurse, teacher Lim Eugene, is not only an excellent teacher, but also the only one in Pak High who still cares for the students, even after the administration gave up. As he continues praising her, calling her beauty a ray of sunshine in their school, Wang Dam places a hand on his mouth, forcefully stopping him. Eugene blushes and tells Sun Saiwon to stop. She then turns to Wang Dam, confirms his name, and advises him not to engage in fights on his first day, as even though his injuries are minor, he should still be careful. Wang Dam listens as Eugene expresses concern, revealing that many students have suddenly gotten hurt today. Instead of arguing, he shifts his attention to Sun Saiwon and asks for the time. When Sun Saiwon reveals that school is almost over, Wang Dam suddenly jumps in shock, startling both Eugene and Sun Saiwon. They ask what happened, and he exclaims that he just realized Tae-suk knocked him out for an entire day. However, as he calms down, he sees the bright side, realizing that he managed to skip school legally by lying unconscious the whole day. But as soon as he thinks that, he quickly starts moving, realizing that staying in bed all day isn't good either. As he walks, Sun Saiwon looks at him in confusion and asks where he is going, wondering if he plans to fight Tae-suk again. When Wang Dam asks if there's a problem with that, Sun Saiwon becomes shocked and tries to stop him, insisting that it's pointless. However, Wang Dam opens the door and looks back at him, stating that he will be the one to decide whether it's pointless or not. He adds that he won't be satisfied until he breaks the glasses off Tae-suk's face. Just as he looks outside, a student stands in front of the door and impatiently tells Wang Dam to hurry up and leave since there's a huge line because of him. Without waiting for a response, the student, Sungjin, rushes past him toward the nurse, happily claiming that he feels dizzy and might have caught the flu. As the nurse greets him warmly, Wang Dam becomes confused, realizing that the students are actually obsessed with Eugene. He steps aside, recalling that Sungjin mentioned a line, and glances over to see how long it is. As he does, Around 50 students glare at him and demand that he move, complaining that everyone is waiting their turn to see the nurse. Hearing this, Wang Dam looks at them in shock before smirking and sarcastically commenting that their faces are so pretty that, instead of visiting the nurse, they should consider getting plastic surgery. His remark immediately angers the students, but he ignores their reactions and continues walking toward his class. As Wang Dam reaches the classroom and calls out to Tyson, Kim Tae-suk glances back at him. As they exchange looks, Wang Dam comments on his nickname, saying it definitely sounds intimidating before asking if he is heading home. Approaching him, Wang Dam suggests that if Tae-suk is leaving, they should fight first. However, the students, overhearing the challenge, start mocking Wang Dam, remarking that he still has the nerve to challenge Tae-suk even after getting knocked out by a single punch earlier. Wang Dam ignores them and keeps his focus on Tae-suk, only to hear him respond that he doesn't even know his name. Tae-suk adds that they already fought in the morning and the outcome was clear. Hearing this, Wang Dam gets angry and questions if Tae-suk is afraid. However, Tae-suk pays him no attention and continues walking out of the classroom, clearly uninterested in fighting. As he nears the door, Wang Dam calls out again, asking if he is really scared. When Tae-suk doesn't respond, Wang Dam smirks and declares that he has no choice but to follow him home. This time, Tae-suk stops and glances at him, making Wang Dam excited. He asks if Tae-suk doesn't want anyone following him home and if he is finally ready to fight. Watching Tae-suk's reaction, Wang Dam questions whether the real reason he refuses to fight is because he is the leader and has declared that leadership is determined by grades. However, Tae-suk calmly counters, saying that it is a rule. Even if he were to ignore the rule, he sees no reason to fight when the outcome was already proven in the morning. Wang Dam grows frustrated and insists that they should fight properly this time. Pointing a finger at Tae-suk, he challenges him, asking if he truly believes ranking students based on grades is a good idea. Before he can continue, Tae-suk cuts him off, saying that he understands Wang Dam's situation. Hearing this, Wang Dam falls silent, prompting Tae-suk to elaborate. He reveals that he knows Wang Dam wants to secure a job but doesn't want to study. He further adds that Pak High is no longer the infamous school it once was.